Have you ever wondered why some leaders build empires while others spectacularly self-destruct? What if I told you that the difference isn't about luck or connections, but something much simpler yet more powerful? I know how frustrating it is to watch chaos unfold while successful people seem immune to all the confusion around them. Today I'm going to reveal Napoleon Hill's 3 exact principles of mental control that have created more millionaires than any philosophy in history. Principles you can master completely in just 21 days of focused practice. These are the same principles that Hill discovered by studying over 500 millionaires throughout 25 years of research. Principles I've been applying and teaching for over a decade, helping thousands of people transform their mental mastery. The same mental laws that determine financial success also determine the destiny of entire nations. And we're going to start with the first principle using a current case study that proves how these laws work: the dramatic fall of Jair Bolsonaro. Consider what happened with Jair Bolsonaro. Here's a man who reached the highest office in the country, but now faces house arrest due to an 884-page police report. This isn't just a political case, it's living proof that leaders without mental discipline destroy themselves. Napoleon Hill studied over 500 successful people and discovered a universal law: mental control determines all life outcomes. Bolsonaro violated this fundamental law so dramatically that he now serves as a perfect case study of what not to do. Now that you've seen the devastating consequences, let's examine exactly how this happens. First principle, let's examine how mental chaos creates chaos in life. Hill taught that our subconscious mind accepts and acts upon any thought we consistently repeat. Intro, end, intro, end. Bolsonaro programmed his mind, and consequently the minds of millions of Brazilians, with conspiracy theories, constant negativity, and victimization thoughts. But before revealing how this works in practice, let me ask a provocative question. Have you ever noticed how your own mind reacts when someone mentions Bolsonaro's name? This automatic reaction is exactly what Hill was trying to teach us 87 years ago. The 884-page report isn't just legal evidence, it's the documentation of a mind out of control. While successful leaders like Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, and Henry Ford focused their thoughts on creating value, Bolsonaro focused on destruction and conspiracy. Edison maintained a daily ritual of 30 minutes of total concentration in his laboratory. This practice helped him create over 1,000 patents. Carnegie built a steel empire by keeping his mind focused on solutions, not problems. Ford revolutionized transportation because he disciplined his thoughts toward innovation, not destruction. Imagine for a moment, you wake up tomorrow and your mind is completely out of control. Negative thoughts bombarding you like a mental storm. Now contrast that with waking up with a disciplined, focused, powerful mind. Which of these two versions of you will build the empire you deserve? Now you're thinking, this is ancient history. How does this apply to my modern world? Here's where it gets interesting and scary. The difference lies in what Hill called auto-suggestion versus negative programming. Bolsonaro chose to fill his mind with destructive thoughts until they became his dominant reality. And here's the crucial point. We're no different from political leaders when it comes to mental laws. This naturally leads us to the second principle that Hill considered even more dangerous in the modern era. We need to understand how information overload has become the modern mental poison. Have you ever stopped to think about how Hill predicted our modern mental crisis almost a century ago? He wrote about the importance of guarding our minds against negative influences. Today, 86% of people struggle with information overload, and this is destroying our capacity for clear thinking. Stop right now and be honest with me. How many notifications have you gotten in the last 30 minutes? How many times have you checked your phone today? If you're like 86% of people, your mind is being bombarded with more information in one day than our ancestors processed in an entire month. This isn't normal. It's a direct assault on your potential for success. Bolsonaro became addicted to consuming and spreading chaotic information. Social media, conspiracy theories, negative news, all of this programmed his subconscious mind for failure. He lost the ability that Hill considered most important, the capacity for sustained concentration. Hill recommended 30 minutes daily of focused concentration on a single objective. Bolsonaro did the opposite. He scattered his mental attention across dozens of destructive distractions simultaneously. Social media algorithms created destructive mental patterns that eventually manifested as destructive actions in real life. Are you programming your mind for success or failure? Every phone notification, every negative post you consume, every conspiracy theory you entertain is shaping your subconscious reality. Hill taught that we have only two choices: direct our thoughts or be directed by them. Every phone notification, every negative post you consume, every conspiracy theory you entertain is shaping your subconscious reality. Hill taught that we have only two choices: direct our thoughts or be directed by them. But there's a crucial difference between those who let themselves be consumed by overload and those who thrive. And this reveals the third principle, what Hill called strategic silence. Hill discovered that successful people practice this discipline rigorously. While others react to everything, successful people choose when and how to respond. But wait, there's something Hill discovered that's even more powerful than controlling what enters your mind. Something that 99% of people get wrong every single day. Strategic silence is growing 38% as a trend because people are realizing its power. While Bolsonaro reacted compulsively to every provocation, every criticism, every opportunity to create conflict, successful leaders maintain control over their reactions. Examine the difference between positive masterminds and conspiracy mentality. Hill documented that all 500 successful people he studied surrounded themselves with other individuals focused on growth and solutions. Bolsonaro did the opposite. He surrounded himself with 37 co-conspirators who now face imprisonment. Think of this as a simple mathematical equation. Bolsonaro plus 37 co-conspirators focused on destruction equals inevitable prison. Carnegie plus industrialists focused on construction equals steel empire. Ford plus engineers focused on innovation equals transportation revolution. The math is brutal. You become the average of the dominant thoughts in your circle. Hill called this the mastermind principle, the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people to achieve a definite purpose. Bolsonaro created a negative mastermind focused on destruction and conspiracy. The inevitable result was mutual destruction. Now answer me honestly. Do the 5 people closest to you raise your standards or pull you down? This answer will determine your future. Are they programming your mind for success or failure? Do they focus on solutions or problems? Do they build or destroy? Hill discovered that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with mentally. What separates those who build empires from those who destroy them? The answer lies in the conscious control of dominant thoughts. Hill taught that our conscious mind is the gatekeeper of our subconscious mind. Bolsonaro let that gatekeeper fall asleep on the job. You might be wondering, how can I apply these principles in my real life? Hill provided the exact steps, tested by 87 years of results. Stop everything now. If you've made it this far just passively consuming this information, you're making the same mistake that destroyed Bolsonaro. Hill taught that knowledge without application is just expensive entertainment. First, implement the daily practice of concentration. Hill considered this more important than any other discipline. Dedicate 30 minutes daily focusing your mind on a single objective or problem. Don't allow your mind to wander. When it does wander, and it will wander, gently bring it back to focus. This practice is not optional for those who desire real success. It's like exercising a mental muscle. Bolsonaro never developed this muscle, which is why his mind became weak and susceptible to destructive influences. You can start today, and in 30 days you'll notice a dramatic difference in your mental clarity. Here's the brutal difference. While you practice those 30 minutes of concentration, Bolsonaro was scattering his attention across dozens of conspiracy theories. While you feed your mind with constructive knowledge, he was consuming toxic negativity. The result? You build an empire, he builds a prison. The choice is yours. Next, implement what Hill called an information diet. Imagine two people. One wakes up and immediately consumes negative news, conspiracy theories, dramatic social media posts. Imagine two people. You wake up with an open mind to constructive principles, or you feed on negativity. The difference between these choices shows up in the results over time. The other wakes up and feeds their mind with constructive knowledge, inspiring stories, growth principles. Now, Hill shows us the scientific difference between these choices. Just as you monitor what you eat, you must monitor what your mind consumes. Eliminate unnecessary negative news, conspiracy theories, and content that programs your mind for pessimism and fear. Here's a quick test that will shock you. Count how many times today you check the news, social media, or consume negative content. The number you'll discover will explain exactly why your results aren't where you want them to be. Hill wrote, "The human mind accepts anything that is repeated sufficiently, whether true or false." Bolsonaro proved this by feeding his mind with falsehoods until they became his operational truth. You have the power to choose what feeds your subconscious mind. Finally, optimize your mental environment by auditing your personal mastermind. Hill discovered that we need at least one person in our lives who shares our vision of success and growth. Bolsonaro surrounded himself with people who reinforced his negativity and paranoia. Make a list of the 5 people you interact with most. Do they raise your mental standards or lower them? Do they focus on possibilities or limitations? Do they build your confidence or feed your fears? Hill taught that we must be ruthless in protecting our mental environment. These aren't just theories, they're principles tested by 87 years of validation. While others panic over external events like political crises, recessions, or social changes, you can use these same circumstances to build wealth and success. But here's where Hill's principles become even more powerful when applied during moments of national crisis. What separated Bolsonaro from truly successful leaders wasn't luck, connections, or timing. It was mental control. Hill proved that when we control our dominant thoughts, we control our dominant results. It's a law as reliable as gravity. But here's what separates winners from losers. How do you react when the world around you seems to collapse? The Brazilian political crisis isn't a distraction from your personal growth. It's actually a perfect opportunity to demonstrate these superior principles of mental leadership. While others react emotionally to external chaos, you can maintain a positive mental attitude and use the confusion as fuel for your advancement. Hill taught that crises always create opportunities for those who maintain mental control. During the Great Depression, many millionaires were created by people who applied these same principles. The current political instability in Brazil is no different. It's an environment rich with opportunities for disciplined minds. Here's a concrete example. While other Brazilians are wasting time discussing politics on WhatsApp, you could be building your business. While they're consuming negative news about the crisis, you could be studying investment strategies. While they blame the system, you could be taking complete responsibility. That's the difference between a victim mentality and a winner's mentality. Consider the growth mindset versus fixed conspiratorial thinking. Bolsonaro developed a fixed mindset based on blaming external forces for all problems. Hill taught the opposite, taking complete personal responsibility for our results regardless of external circumstances. Here's the stark difference between Bolsonaro and Carnegie. One blamed external forces and lost everything. The other took total responsibility and built an empire. The choice is always yours. When you take total responsibility, you gain total power. When you blame external forces, you give your power to those forces. Bolsonaro gave his power to imaginary conspiracies. You can choose to keep your power by focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and reactions. Applying personal responsibility practically means stop using political events as excuses for not advancing toward your goals. Hill studied people who built success during world wars, economic depressions, and political revolutions. External circumstances never determine success, only the mental response to circumstances. Moment of truth. In the next 30 seconds, you're going to make a decision that will determine whether the next 30 days will be the same as the last 30, or if the transformation you've been saying you want for years will finally happen. Now you have a clear choice. You can follow Bolsonaro's path, allowing external forces to control your mental peace and your results. Or you can choose Hill's path, taking complete control of your mental programming and creating the results you desire. The principles I'm sharing aren't untested theory. They're mental laws validated by nearly a century of practical application. Carnegie used these principles to become America's richest man. Edison used them to create over 1,000 patents. Ford used them to revolutionize global transportation. Carnegie used these principles to become America's richest man. Edison used them to create over 1,000 patents. Ford used them to revolutionize global transportation. We've reached the moment of truth. You now possess what Hill called the difference that makes all the difference. Exactly as I promised at the beginning, you now master the 3 exact principles of mental control that Napoleon Hill documented 87 years ago. You've seen how Bolsonaro violated each of these laws and paid the price. Most importantly, you have the practical steps to apply each principle and transform any crisis into opportunity within the next 30 days. We've reached the moment of truth. Recapping your transformation. First, you understand that mental control determines all life outcomes, validated by 87 years of evidence. Second, you have 3 practical techniques tested by Carnegie, Edison, and Ford. Third, you know exactly how to apply this while others continue programming themselves for mediocrity. The difference between you and Bolsonaro now is simple. You have the right knowledge at the right time. The difference between Bolsonaro and you is simple. He had decades to program his mind for failure. You have the advantage of knowing these laws now. Every day you apply these principles is a day building your success programming, while others continue programming themselves for mediocrity without realizing it. Hill taught that procrastination is the trademark of people who never achieve success. Successful people act immediately when they recognize valid principles. While others plan to act someday, you can start your mental control transformation today. Remember, while 99% of people wait for the perfect moment that never comes and others panic, you can build wealth and success. While others let themselves be programmed by social media chaos, you can program your mind for success. While others blame politicians for their problems, you can take total responsibility and total control of your life. This is your opportunity to separate yourself from the masses and apply principles that have worked for almost a century. Don't let the Brazilian political crisis be a distraction. Use it as fuel to demonstrate superior mental control and create the success you deserve. Now you have a critical decision ahead. You can continue being just another person programmed by social media chaos, or you can take total control of your mind in the next 30 days. Choose now one of the 3 principles to implement today: the 30 minutes of focused concentration, the strict information diet, or auditing your personal mastermind. Don't let this moment pass. Grab pen and paper now and write which principle you're going to start today and how you'll apply it tomorrow morning. Leave your choice in the comments and I'll personally respond with the next step to accelerate your results. This is your chance to escape mediocrity. Act now.